The American West in 1854, a time of great change and even greater uncertainty, a land of vast beauty and brutal reality, where dreams and hardships walked hand in hand. Settlers, lured by the promise of gold and new beginnings, pushed westward, driven by hope and desperation. They encroached on lands long held sacred by Native American tribes, lands that were more than just territory. The Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho watched as their hunting grounds vanished, their way of life slipping away. Their way of life was under threat, their traditions and survival hanging in the balance. Treaties were signed, broken, and disregarded, promises made and shattered without remorse. Mistrust and resentment festered on both sides, creating a chasm that seemed impossible to bridge. The air crackled with tension, a palpable sense of impending conflict. The West was a powder keg waiting for a spark, a volatile mix of hope, fear, and anger. The Oregon Trail, a perilous artery of migration, cut through the heart of this volatile landscape, connecting dreams and dangers. Thousands of wagons rumbled westward, carrying dreams of prosperity and leaving a trail of ecological damage in their wake. The bison herds, the lifeblood of the Plains Indians, dwindled. Competition for resources intensified, adding fuel to the fire. Each broken treaty, each act of violence brought the inevitable conflict closer, inching towards a tragic climax. The stage was set for a tragedy that would ignite a generation of warfare, a dark chapter in the history of the American West. Fort Laramie, a remote outpost in what is now Wyoming, stood as a symbol of the uneasy truce between the U.S. Army and the Plains Indians. This fort was a critical point of contact, a place where two worlds collided and coexisted, albeit tenuously. It was here, in August 1854, that a seemingly insignificant event spiraled into a massacre. The incident would forever alter the course of relations between the settlers and the Native American tribes. A cow belonging to a Mormon settler passing through went missing. This seemingly trivial loss would become the catalyst for a deadly confrontation. The settler accused a young Miniconjou Lakota man, a member of Chief Conquering Bear's band, of stealing the animal. The accusation was based on little more than suspicion and prejudice. The accusation was flimsy at best. There was no concrete evidence to support the claim. The cow was more likely to have strayed than been stolen. In the vast open plains, it was not uncommon for livestock to wander off. But in the charged atmosphere of the frontier, reason held little sway. Emotions ran high, and tensions were always just beneath the surface. The settler, fueled by prejudice and a sense of entitlement, demanded justice. He was determined to see the young Lakota man punished. He appealed to the fort's commander for help. The military presence at Fort Laramie was seen as a source of authority and protection for the settlers. His demands fell on sympathetic ears. The fort's officers, already wary of the Native American tribes, were quick to side with the settler. The stage was set for a confrontation that would escalate beyond anyone's control, a confrontation that would have far-reaching and tragic consequences. The events at Fort Laramie would ignite a firestorm that would burn for years to come. Second Lieutenant John Lawrence Gratton, a recent West Point graduate, was eager to prove himself. He saw the missing cow incident as an opportunity to demonstrate the Army's might and his own leadership. Gratton was young, ambitious, and perhaps blinded by his own sense of superiority. He underestimated the Lakota warriors and their renowned fighting prowess. Ignoring the advice of more experienced officers, Gratton assembled a detachment of 29 soldiers. Armed with 2 artillery pieces, they marched towards Conquering Bear's village. Gratton was determined to make an example of the Lakota. He intended to intimidate them into submission. He gravely miscalculated. He was walking his men into a deadly trap. Chief Conquering Bear, known for his wisdom and diplomacy, sought to avoid bloodshed. He was a leader who valued peace and understood the devastating consequences of war. He understood the gravity of the situation. The tension between the Lakota and the U.S. military was palpable, and he knew that any misstep could lead to disaster. He knew that Gratton, fueled by arrogance and ignorance, was a dangerous adversary. Gratton's lack of respect for the Lakota and his overconfidence made him unpredictable and volatile. Conquering Bear approached Gratton with a peace offering. He hoped that this gesture would show their willingness to resolve the conflict without violence. He offered to pay for the cow, a gesture intended to defuse the situation. This was a significant offer, showing the Lakota's commitment to maintaining peace. But Gratton, blinded by his own sense of righteousness, refused to listen. He saw the offer not as a peace gesture, but as an admission of guilt. He dismissed Conquering Bear's offer as a sign of weakness. In his eyes, accepting the offer would undermine his authority and the power of the U.S. military. He demanded that the Lakota hand over the supposed thief. Gratton's insistence on this demand showed his lack of understanding of Lakota culture and justice. He threatened to attack if his demands were not met. The threat of violence loomed large, creating an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. Conquering Bear pleaded for calm. He tried to reason with Gratton, emphasizing the importance of peace and understanding. He argued that the young man accused of stealing the cow was sick and under the protection of the tribe. This was a plea for compassion and humanity. His words fell on deaf ears. Gratton was unmoved by Conquering Bear's arguments and pleas. Gratton, drunk on his own power and prejudice, was determined to teach the Lakota a lesson. He believed that force was the only way to assert his authority. He would soon learn a tragic lesson of his own. The events that followed would be a stark reminder of the cost of arrogance and the value of peace. The tension, already stretched to a breaking point, finally snapped. A shot rang out, its origin uncertain. It was a spark that ignited the inferno. Gratton soldiers, panicked and poorly positioned, opened fire on the Lakota village. The Lakota warriors, skilled horsemen and fierce fighters, responded with deadly accuracy. The battle was swift and brutal. Gratton's detachment, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, was annihilated. Gratton himself, cut down by a hail of bullets and arrows, never stood a chance. Within minutes, the battle was over. The ground was littered with the bodies of American soldiers. Not a single soldier survived the onslaught. The Gratton Massacre, a testament to arrogance and miscalculation, sent shockwaves through the West. The fragile peace was shattered. News of the massacre spread like wildfire. The Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho, outraged by the unprovoked attack, prepared for war. The U.S. Army, thirsting for revenge, vowed retribution. The Gratton Massacre ignited a conflict that would engulf the American West for decades. The Indian Wars, a series of brutal conflicts between the U.S. government and various Native American tribes, had begun. These wars, fueled by territorial disputes, broken treaties, and mutual mistrust, would leave a lasting scar on the American landscape. Thousands of Native Americans and U.S. soldiers would lose their lives in a conflict that could have been avoided. The Gratton Massacre serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of prejudice, miscommunication, and the use of violence to solve disputes. The Gratton Massacre was a tragedy on many levels. It was a failure of communication, a testament to the dangers of arrogance and prejudice. It was a catalyst for a generation of bloodshed. The lessons of the Gratton Massacre, though learned in blood, seem to have been forgotten all too often. The Gratton Massacre stands as a stark reminder of the importance of understanding and respecting different cultures. It highlights the dangers of prejudice and the need for clear communication. It underscores the tragic consequences of resorting to violence to solve disputes. The story of the Gratton Massacre is not just a historical footnote. It is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the enduring power of prejudice and the importance of seeking peaceful solutions. It is a story that sadly continues to resonate in our own time. Please give a thumbs up, like, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.